The invocation. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Tate Chalfont with Celebration Church. I'd ask you to please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Before I go ahead and pray, I just want to share a definition of community that I got. Actually, I shared it last time. I had the privilege of being here, but I do believe it's one that's important to keep at the forefront of our hearts and our minds whenever we have times like this. It says, a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common interests, goals, and attitudes. Let's pray. God, we know that there would be no need for meetings like this if we all operated always with the same goals, always with the same interests, always with the same attitudes. But Lord, that's not the way you created us. You created us different, to have different points of view, Lord, different points of interest. And I believe, just as your word says, that iron sharpens iron, so too do we sharpen one another in times like this, God. I don't think that the purpose of these meetings is that everyone leave happy, everyone leave feeling like they got their way or satisfied, Lord, but meetings like this happen so that we can build a sharper, more effective community. Lord, I pray that not only this community becomes sharper, but each of us becomes sharper on a personal level. That we grow from spending time with other people of differing opinions who have different interests than us. Lord, I know that we may be divided by different projects that we want to pursue, different processes by which we want to accomplish things, Lord, different ways to allocate funds, but may we be united always in purpose, as one community. I don't believe that the best communities are made of a bunch of clones operating under one voice and one person's willpower, Lord, but they are made by diversity. Effective communities come from large groups of people with different views and different ideals, Lord, that can all come together, unified in purpose. So I pray tonight, Lord, that by one purpose we can strive toward a common goal to prosper this community, not only in wealth, not only in beautiful, and we do have a beautiful community, but Lord, that we would prosper in our community's faith. Because we know that a community on its knees is more powerful than a community of people standing on their feet, stomping, shouting, and arguing. Lord, when we focus on you, we can accomplish so much more. Lord, I pray that we can be united by one purpose toward a common attitude, an attitude that chooses togetherness over selfishness. That our pride not get in the way so large that we can't hear what other people are saying, Lord, or that our egos inside of us never become more important than the people beside us. Lord, that we can be united by a purpose to strive for a common interest. An interest first in one another, to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Genuinely caring about those around us, but also, Lord, an interest in you. That we be interested in your agenda and in your hopes, your dreams for our community. God, in closing, I just want to recognize that so many people in this room are here because they are leaders in this community, elected officials, or just public figures in one way or another. And each of us have a voice that people around us listen to. Lord, I pray that tonight, through the structure of government that we have that allows us to express our voice, that we would use that voice to glorify you. Use that voice to pursue your kingdom and your agenda. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Proverbs 27:17. Okay, council, first item of business will be to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting, work session, and agenda meetings which were held on August the 13th. Do you have any changes, additions, deletions you'd like to make to those minutes, council? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Okay, those minutes are approved. Mayor Wilson, your report, please.
Thank you, Council President. Each year, our police department has a ceremony in honor of 9/11, the second day in our country's history that will live in infamy. This year, however, the one-day event is being turned into a full week of service event. Employees and citizens alike are more than welcome to join in this new week of service sponsored by the Fairhope Police Department. Contact Sherry Schwartz at the department for details and sign up. John Keller of our Water Gas Department is retiring after 28 years and 4 months of service to the city. John is truly a member of the family. His father worked for the city, and his sister still works for the city. We wish John all the best in his retirement. The Alabama Coastal Cleanup is scheduled for September 15th. This year from 8 a.m. to noon. Our city has a cook team and will be there serving up lunch for workers. This is a great event each year, and believe it or not, everyone has fun working together. I was a little sore last year from bending over, but it was good. So come out and join us as we clean our shoreline. The fiscal 2019 draft budget was delivered to council on August 10th. This was 10 days before the date required by state. Each year, we try to improve and streamline the budget process, and this year is an exciting year for the city and its utility department. We will be going over this in 6 council meetings, 3 of which will be specially called council meetings for public to hear. Here's some highlights, and I've gone over some of these before, and they've improved even more after we did the final budget. We've increased cash account balances almost 50%, decreased city debt by 46%, reduced utility debt by 21%. We have hired experienced professionals in addition to more training for all of our wonderful existing employees. The city and utility financials have been separated, and the city is very close to being fully self-reliant without the utility subsidy. This is an incredible milestone to achieve after only a few years. The 2019 budget is solid. The city is almost, like I said, fully sufficient, even after taking over all of its operating expenses the utility department used to pay, increasing personnel needs, and reducing utility transfers. As a result, the net profit for utilities will be at a record high. These profits will be used for the utility maintenance and upgrades as it always should have. The additional money afforded to the city will be used for community development rather than a subsidy for the city, which has always run at a significant deficit in the past. The projected profit for the utilities in 2019 will be $8.2 million, which is 71% higher than the utility profit from last term, and 137% higher than the term before that. This concludes my mayor report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public participation pertaining to agenda items. If you'd like to address the council on items 5 through 22, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Remember, only pertaining to agenda items. We'll say that item 6 will be pulled from the agenda tonight as well. Okay, seeing no one for public participation tonight, I'll close public participation for agenda items and remind you that you will have another opportunity to address the council at the conclusion of tonight's meeting. Council comments. Councilman Robinson?
I don't have any comment.
Councilman Conyers?
No comments here tonight.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you, Council President. First, I'd like to congratulate Julie Pierce, the principal at Fairhope Elementary School. They were one of 50 schools across the state that were selected due to their improvement of their reading scores. They're getting a $20,000 check from the state to continue those improvements. So job well done, Ms. Pierce and Fairhope Elementary staff. We appreciate y'all. Secondly, I just want to touch base on kind of some of the reports that have been put out by Mobile Baykeeper in regards to some contamination both in Fly Creek and along swimming areas along Mobile Bay. The city, from what I understand, has put out kind of an action plan, but what has failed is back on the meeting, May 29th of this year, Mobile Baykeeper came and gave the report for the Fly Creek watershed, and the consensus was that DNA testing needed to be done to try to figure out where that contamination was coming from, whether it's bird, livestock, or human. And we asked that Richard Peterson, along with the staff, kind of move forward with this testing so we as a city can determine where this contamination is coming from before we figure out how to approach it. So in regards to that, I've received a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. Obviously, Fairhope residents not happy with those reports. So again, I ask that the mayor move forward with getting Mobile Baykeeper to have this testing done so we can determine what the source of this is. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Councilman Boone?
Yes, actually, I'd like to give a shout out to the Alive at 5 concerts they're having at the amphitheater. They started last Friday, and it's on the corner of Morphy and School Street. If anybody in the city doesn't come to those, they're really missing a fun time. It's really a nice deal, and I encourage everyone to come and participate in the Alive at 5 concerts. Show your support. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Boone. I'd like to say, if you've noticed, agenda item 21 tonight is a resolution to apply for a grant through Economic Development and Hatch, which is the small business incubator that we have started in Fairhope and is also partially funded by the city of Fairhope. The grant, and I'm extremely excited to talk about this, the grant will be used to purchase the K1 Center property. This has been talked about for a long time. Hopefully we'll get the grant. The council voted for me to negotiate the purchase of that property with Baldwin Board of Education many weeks ago, and I'm happy to say that we are extremely close to an agreement and have agreed in principle to the terms, which I cannot disclose tonight, which will be revealed probably no later than 2 weeks, if not sooner. We just need to review the draft of the purchase agreement, and then hopefully we'll get this grant, which will allow us to purchase the property for 20 cents on the dollar. It will also include monies that will go a long way, if not all the way, towards renovating the K1 Center. So not only would we be able to purchase it, but we would also have the monies available to renovate this. I can't tell you, this has been a long time coming. I know that the people that I've mentioned this to in the city have been extremely excited about it. I know that some people have other ideas about the property, but the people and groups that I've talked to have been thrilled. So council, thank you for allowing me the opportunity. Councilman Conyers, thank you. You have stepped up many times and helped me out with this. Lee Lawson, Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance Director, who's sitting in the back of the room. Many thanks to you, and many thanks to the school board for working with the city. And like I said, we don't have the agreement signed yet, but I did sign a letter of an intent. It's non-binding. I signed that a week ago, delivered that to Baldwin Board of Education. Tonight, we will be approving the application for a grant of $6.1 million. $1.22 million of that will be matched by the city of Fairhope. So Mayor, get that in the budget, please. We'll need that. Maybe that 25% of the sales tax that we talked about diverting to something could be used for that. So with that, I'll close my comments, but just tell you that there will be more to be stated about this in the next week or two. Hopefully, we'll be able to make a really big announcement as to what's going on with the K1 Center. Okay. Thank you. Item 5 on tonight's agenda is final adoption of an ordinance establishing a municipal procurement card program for certain officers and employees of the city of Fairhope. This was introduced at the August 13th, 2018 City Council meeting. Does anybody need to go back over this ordinance? Anybody have any questions for our treasurer about this? Mr. Henson is here to answer any questions. Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion for final adoption.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Comments? I just want to say that I have some hesitation on this. I'm going to be keeping an close eye on credit card charges and make sure that the spending doesn't just get easier so our costs go up because of this. I hope that it's used wisely, and I'm sure it will be, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, clerk, will you call the question?
Council President,
Aye.
place 2.
Aye.
Place 3.
Aye.
Place 4.
Aye.
Place 5.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 6 is being pulled from the agenda at the request of the owner of Shucks. Item 7 is a resolution that the Fairhope Volunteer Fire Department is hereby authorized and directed to dispose of personal property purchased by the city of Fairhope, Alabama for the Fairhope Volunteer Fire Department described in Section 1 above by donating such property to another fire department that could use the equipment. Council, you'll see the list in your book or on your computer. You have any questions for the fire department? I see Chief here. Mr. Saraceno's here. Any questions about that? If not, I'll entertain a resolution to make the donations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. That's a good thing you're doing there, Chief.
Yep.
I saw a story on the news where Mobile, I believe, had given Pritchard maybe a fire truck recently, and I hope that we're able to do something like that soon, so, very good. Item 8 is a resolution. The city council authorizes the engineer of record to send a 30-day notice to terminate the contract with utility service company pursuant to Section 3.3 right of the city to terminate a contract and allow after 30 days for the city to terminate the contract and proceed according to the terms of the contract, which includes calling the bond. Mr. Peterson, is this your item to speak to? Can be. Would you please? This would be otherwise known as the cancellation of the water tower painting contract. And I'll ask you, you may have received weekly updates from Mr. Whitman, and we appreciate those, Jay.
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Anybody have any questions in particular about this?
I will say, if I have just a second.
Yes, sir.
I talked to Kevin Hamilton today, who's with Utility Services. They had 2 people leave the job site today. The equipment that they currently have is broken, so nothing's getting done today. They hope to have equipment there tomorrow, but it won't be any upgrade to what they currently have. They need about 8 to 10 blast hoses. They're going to replace what they have with 2 more blast hoses, and they hope to get some people in place. They did say last week they were pursuing a company out of Texas. I think you saw that in the update. He said that's not going to happen now, that they're going to try to do it themselves. I think we've been fair to them. This thing has not moved forward, and it's in disarray.
Council, I think we give them every opportunity, and probably we've dragged our feet longer than we should have on this to give them that opportunity. Did you want to add anything, Mr. Peterson?
No, I mean, the best thing to do is give them the 30-day notice and terminate the contract.
Council, I'll entertain a resolution doing just that.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, how many days have they been on the job, Richard or Jay?
They started, we gave them gave them a right to proceed, a notice to proceed. I think it was November 15th of last year, 14th of last year. They should have been done
1st of June.
1st of June at the latest.
Would you say they're about 10 to 15% complete?
Yes, I think that's pretty
That's about
accurate.
accurate.
I will be fair in saying that the first 20% is the toughest, and if
Okay.
they got through with that, then it should have gone faster, but it's been one delay after another. Now they have another problem with just the curtain. They have to address an engineering issue with it, so they can't put a curtain up, they can't paint the outside.
And they haven't been paid anything, correct?
Zero. They haven't billed us, so we haven't paid them.
What is our next step after, assuming the contract's canceled?
Well, we're gonna work with the bonding
The bonding
company.
company.
Work either to get other contractors.
Or get reimbursed to do it ourselves or hire?
Oh, no.
Well, yeah.
Not doing it ourselves.
No.
No,
But I mean,
no.
they did give us the opportunity to talk to them, and they said that they could take it over and try to find contractors. There is an option that we may be able to go to the second bidder, so,
Okay.
second highest bidder. So that's what we would like to do, if given the option. All right?
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Now, I've drafted a letter I'll send to Marcus for whatever approvals he wants to offer or edits, and we'll send it tomorrow then.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Peterson. Item 9 is a resolution that Mayor Karen Wilson is hereby authorized to execute a contract with Impact to perform public relations writing for various projects within the city for Economic and Community Development Department with a not-to-exceed amount of $23,760. This was discussed, I believe, at the last work session. Anybody have any questions? Who could address questions for that? Is Sherry Lee? She in? If anybody has any questions for Sherry Lee?
What kind of time period is that for?
That's for the year, for the coming year.
Also, we'll point out, council, this is at a rate of $90 per hour. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I think it's too much money, council.
Seems like a lot.
Just think it's too much. Any other comments?
Is it replacing, isn't it replacing money we were spending with someone else, or am I incorrect in thinking that?
It is in some capacity, yes.
How much were we spending before in the other alternative?
We were spending, Jill, if she's still here, we can look it up, but I think it was maybe around 10,000. I'm not positive. And she took the time to meet with every one of you, and there's an hourly rate, but I think it's half of what the nonprofit rate is, and she's very much needed. I just don't know why we keep on talking about this in this small
Well,
amount
the
that
scope
is greatly
increased.
needed.
The scope is increased over, you cut back on the publications to save money, cut it back to, I think, 4 times a year, and I believe this increases it again, and that's kind of some of my hesitation. And I just, it's a lot, $90 an hour for a writer of these articles just seems kind of high to me, just my personal opinion, but anyway. Any other council members have comments or questions?
We put a communication person
Mayor,
in the budget
please.
the last 2 years,
Please.
and it was cut. So we're trying to do the second best thing.
Any other questions or comments, council? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay. Motion passes. Item number 10 is a resolution to award a bid for Fairhope Connect newsletter printing to Postmark, Inc. with a total bid proposal for an annual cost not to exceed $14,100 and authorizes to terminate bid number 027-17. Okay. So the Fairhope Connect newsletter is going to be, how many times a year? Well, guys, we're
6.
voting on things we don't even know we're voting on.
I'm pretty sure it's 6.
It is, it's 6. It's bi-monthly. And so this is the printing, the contract for last year's, we just finished it with October. So this will be picking it back up for November, December, through a year on. So it's bi-monthly. And this is, I think, less than it cost us last year, I think. It's right around, if not less. I believe it's a little bit less.
Council, I'll entertain a resolution to award the bid for the Fairhope Connect newsletter to Postmark, Inc. at $14,100, not to exceed $14,100.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 11 is a resolution that the governing body of the City of Fairhope hereby rescinds bid number 027-18 for the HDPE trailer and self-loading trailer for the electric department due to no bids being received and authorizes the city to solicit for informal bids in accordance with the Attorney General opinion from 1969. I'll entertain a motion to rescind the bid.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. Item number 12 is a resolution to award the bid for inmate telephone services for the police department for a 3-year contract to Global Telelink. Inmates will be charged, and the city will receive 50% of the cost recovery. Who can speak to this item? Somebody put it on the agenda.
I think this is that, is this the phone, the thing that was approved
Yeah, we talked
a long
about
time
this.
ago? It's just
Oh,
now
okay.
being, coming on the,
This meeting I missed. I'll talk about it.
I think it was on the, it might have been on the work session, but it
It was
was,
on a work session.
yeah, we just had to go and get the contract. The contract actually fell through the cracks and it wasn't pushed forward.
This is why we have to get to the agendas on the agenda meeting, so we know who's going to talk to these things. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was one of the person that reviewed the bid. I know you've been 3 years without an inmate phone system. It's been a long time coming. I know right now they're escorted out of the cell to the booking area to use a city phone. So this will put phones back into the male population, female population area, as well as replace the communication devices in the visitation area as well.
Yeah, this was discussed at a work session. I can't specifically remember when that was, but Chief Pettis came and presented it, and it was his recommendation that we do this.
I thought we had adopted a new contract. I know that it was costing the inmates a lot of money, and I thought we'd adopted something several years ago. Is this did we never pass that?
No. I mean, I've been here 7 years. I think 5 of that we had, I think it's been 5 years now that I think about it. We hadn't had an inmate phone system.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
been
mean,
a while.
It's a compliance issue too.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
not-
think it was gouging inmates. I mean,
And I think
It-
that's
it
what
was
the
cut.
holdup, I'm sorry.
It was cut in the budgets according to, I think it was Lieutenant Sledge who said that it was cut multiple times. And I
Cut from
said,
the
well, we'll just
budget?
put it in. Yes.
why would you cut it if there's
I-
somebody?
I didn't
There's no
cut it.
cost involved,
Didn't
is
cut
it?
it.
No, there's not. There's no cost. I think there was a lot of holdup in the state level as far as compliance and trying to get some groundwork set as rules of how they can charge the inmates. I think there was a lot of price gouging in the past, and I think we had to wait for purchasing to get a recommendation back on how to proceed with the bid. And after we got that recommendation back, we went out for bid, and this was the best bidder.
I mean, I almost feel that, the 50% sharing with the city is, it's just running up the cost to the inmates to make phone calls. And, while I probably don't think they need to be on the phone all day, I don't think they should be gouged for using the phone if they, need to call a family member. That's standard, I'm sure it is, but, to share profits at somebody else's expense like that doesn't seem right either.
This is pretty standard in all jails.
There's a way
This
not to
phone
use
system.
inmate phone, too.
What's that?
There's a way not to use inmate phone system. Don't get in there.
Well, it's true, but, it's true. But I don't like, gouging people. All right, there's a resolution to award the bid for the inmate telephone services for the police department for a 3-year contract to Global Telelink. Inmates will be charged and the city will receive 50% cost recovery. I'll entertain a motion to award the bid.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 13 is a resolution. The Mayor Karen Wilson is hereby authorized to execute The second and final extension of bid number 32-16, jail inmate meals 2016. This is a rebid for American Wholesale Grocery Incorporated doing business as American Foods for an additional 1 year as per the terms and conditions of the original contract. The contract unit bid price varies per item. It's on the attached list for an estimated amount of approximately $45,000. And you should see that tabulation. We do this every year, council. Anybody have any questions? Be able to talk to Mike about that. I believe you have any questions. None? I'll entertain a motion to approve the award for the bids for the meals.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 14 is a resolution to award the bid for miniature LED lights for the city of Fairhope to Winterland Incorporated with a total bid proposal with an annual cost not to exceed $20,500 for the miniature LED lights for the city of Fairhope. Entertain a motion to approve this award.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? These are for the Christmas tree lights.
Yeah, these are the lights that are supposed to last 3 years, right? What's the guarantee on these lights? Let's assume they last 2 years.
They're guaranteed for 3 years.
And did they replace the
Warranty
lights?
for 3 years.
Guarantee, or?
I mean, we discussed all this, but I guess you can talk about it again.
All I know is it's guaranteed for 3 seasons for the lights to be left outside. How do you recover from the warranty? I guess you send them the string that's failed and they send you one back. I think we'd have to install it again, but we wouldn't pay for the string. But it is warranted for 3 seasons. And we're doing some trimming right now, and we're looking at different options on maybe some growth retardants, because our biggest concern is that some of these trees can grow enough in 3 years to where the branches overcome the capacity of the wire wrapped around them to hold together, and or the wire gets caught down into the growth of the tree. So we're trying to look at different ways, and this is going to be about 15% of the lights of the trees, and we're going to find out how well they work.
Kind of trial and test here.
Yeah, we're not all in on these 3-year lights until we know we have a good track record with them.
All right.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask all those in favor of this awarding the bid for the LED lights to please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Item 15 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope vote to purchase fire extinguisher service for the City of Fairhope from Safety Extinguishers LLC with an annual cost of approximately $14,000. Standard Business Council, I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 16 is a resolution to appoint election officers for a special election day on 2nd of October 2018. If you will look in your book or on your computer, you will see the list of election officials. Also note in there that the resolution allows the chief inspector to be compensated $250 for each election, and for each runoff election. Another election officer shall be compensated $125 for each election and for each runoff election if necessary. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to pass this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I'll just say that I don't think we have a choice, folks. There's been an election ordered by the judge of probate, and we'll be having it, and we'll be paying the cost of it. My comment. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion Motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 17 is a site plan approval at a request of Larry Smith with SE Civil LLC on behalf of James and Beverly Reed for a site plan approved for mixed-use, multiple occupancy unit generally located at the southwest corner of Magnolia Avenue and Church Street intersection in Fairhope, Alabama. Yes, sir.
And, Council President, thank you, council members, thank you. The, in your packet, we gave you the full and complete slideshow that was reviewed during the Planning Commission meeting. What we'll do here tonight is just give you an abbreviated overview, since we're considering site plan review. And as the Council President read to us, this is actually a multiple occupancy project that also requires a site plan review approval by the City Council. This is a 20-unit MOP. And it contains, as you'll see on the screen right here, and as we saw earlier, it's developed by Judge Reed and Mrs. Reed. And this contains, it's divided up into lots is how it is divided and identified. And the first 3 lots are a mixed use, which means these are built to the edge of the right-of-way as required by the zoning ordinance. And lots labeled 1R, 4, and 5 are residential units. And we'll see a drawing on a slide here momentarily. We will consider a lot line adjustment. It is very likely we'll have a lot line adjustment that we'll review administratively. So the lot lines, if you see any lot lines covering over a building, that will be reviewed separately. This falls within the Central Business District and is zoned B2. And this does not warrant a traffic study because of the size of the development. And we have a zoning map on your left, on the left side of your screen, and then we have an aerial photograph on the right. I'll call out and describe in a future slide the significance of Sachs Lane in this item right here, but you see we've outlined the subject property in black as well as Sachs Lane, and you see the B2 zoning district marked in the pink area on your left. Here's a overall site plan of the site. The 3 buildings you see plan north or to the upper portion of it are the mixed-use units. And then units 1R, 4, and 5 are the 3 units you see on the bottom of the screen. And you'll notice we've marked the South Alabama campus, and there's an existing Persian rug store there on the corner of Church Street and Magnolia that we've identified. And we've also called out here, we mentioned Sachs Lane, because that is privately owned. It's actually owned by the Single Tax Corporation. We do have authorization from Single Tax to make improvements to Sachs Lane to suit the development. And there's a unit breakdown in the lower right-hand corner of this drawing right here. So you'll notice how many residential units go per building. The unit count on that diagram is 18 residential units, and of course there's 3 commercial units that make up the mixed units to give you a total of 21 units. And council members won't elaborate in great deal. This is a leftover slide from the MOP portion where we evaluated the site requirement portions. But know that the drainage system is, the necessary drainage reviews were conducted, the sprinkler system review because it's in the fire district. All those were reviewed during the MOP portion. And that's why you see the dual project numbers listed at the top of your screen. So we'll go through very quickly the criteria for a site plan review, which we're considering tonight. And so, one, that is, this is a type of development supported by the comprehensive plan because this is an infill development of an older existing property. The applicant gave us a very nice narrative where they explained, it basically explained the benefit to the community, and they described how it aids in the transition from the CBD to the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The building height and floors are allowable in the CBD. As you'll see there, we also reviewed the lighting, and so the foot candles of the proposed lighting is in compliance with the zoning ordinance. The various screening requirements that we require, both for HVAC units, is in compliance. Also, you'll see where we evaluated the parking, and so that's in compliance with the zoning ordinance, including the requirement for compact car parking spaces. Typically, LID techniques are not enforced in the CBD because of the terrain and the availability of space, but they do have pervious parking proposed for this site, which does have a compliance with the various ordinances governing the use of LID techniques. And so, just to finish up the reviewing the criteria, and you'll see another drawing of the site right there, we had the landscaping and the tree protection that was approved by the city horticulturalist. And also we wanted to note that green space requirements are not reflected in the multiple occupancy project requirements. But we did want to note the heritage trees and also the smaller trees. You see the breakdown in the sizes of the oak trees that are being preserved by this site. And what that relates into is approximately 50%, 49.9% of the subject property combined, the various pieces that make it up, is landscape. We typically require that the developer give us an as-built drawing showing that the landscaping has been completed. We require that as part of the MOP process. And what we'll do here, council members, is just flip through some of the building elevations, and you'll notice this is for Lot 1 and Lot 2 and Lot 3, which are your mixed-use buildings. There is a typo on this slide. That should be Lot 1R, 4, and 5. So the residential units are reflected by that slide right there. And then so we'll have our staff recommendation. The text right there in blue is where we note why this type of project triggers requirement for a site plan review. And then we'll note for the council's information that the Planning Commission approved both the site plan and the MOP at its August 6th meeting. And as a result, staff recommends approval of this site plan review that's before us tonight. Council members, I'm happy to answer questions related to the project.
Questions for Mr. King?
And can you flip back through the slides?
Mr. King, that was a lot of information. Thank you for that. The parking for the residential components, they do meet the parking requirements? I think I saw that on one of the slides.
Yes, sir, and I'll flip back to that very quickly for you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. If you look at the bottom 3 bullet points on this slide. And the way the zoning ordinance requires, you'd have to have no more than 40% for compact cars, and so they can meet that compliance by furnishing 32%.
So for mixed use, do you just have to have one parking space per unit, or is it?
So that's correct. So if you'll look at the chart in the lower right-hand corner of this slide right here, so what we have is you'll have in your 2 residential units, you notice you'll have your 1 space per unit, and then you'll have the mixed use, just the commercial portion as a function of square footage. So what you see in the chart right there is calculated result of its square footage on the commercial side. The rest is the number of units for your residential units. For your residential units.
When I read space, 1 space per unit, is that talking about a parking space there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I look at Lot 1, it would be 4 spaces for the 400 square foot plus, 1 space, and then 1 for the 2 residential units. That's 6 spaces there?
Yes, sir.
Did I read that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And also, Mr. Dice reminded me too, this development will not remove any on-street parking.
And Buford, I had one other question. I did read in there 35 to 40 feet on the height, 3 stories, but then I had a side elevation. Okay. I thought I saw 4 stories in one of the pictures. It may have just been a.
You saw it. There was a window on the side.
Okay. I just want to make sure we are.
Yes, sir.
Everyone's aware that it's 3 stories is the max, even if.
Yes, sir.
Even if you go up to 40 feet.
That's correct. 3 stories and 40 feet is the allowance now in the CBD. And of course, what we typically do when we review these types of projects is we always get Eric Cortinas to assist us.
So go back or forth, find that picture. I know which one he's talking about. Just scroll back through there slowly. Yes, sir. Keep going. Right there.
Okay.
You were looking at the top there.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yes, sir. I think they've got a decorative piece and a parapet wall possible.
Okay.
Council President, I can just mention the stories real quick. You know, as y'all may recall, when we were looking at the CBD height limitations and all, one of the driving forces you find with height around the country is a ratio with the street width. So I think ours, if this was in the community village district, which we have in our zoning ordinance, we have a mandatory 3-to-1 ratio that you cannot exceed, which is basically from building edge to building edge across the street, you can't be more than 3-to-1. So you can't be taller than 3 times the width of the street. And these are all well in compliance with that standard that we set in another portion of our ordinance. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. That's something we discussed, as you may recall, a year or so ago. when we're talking about the height limitations.
Well, and part of the, I guess part of the purpose of going up to 40 feet was to allow for some flexibility in roof design. I'm glad to see they don't just have a flat across the top
That's
roof.
correct,
so.
that's correct. Yeah, something a little more, height of the interior of the buildings as well, ceiling height. Many times with 30 feet or 35 feet, you get a very, when you start doing all the utilities and so forth, you get a 9-foot ceiling, which is not usually very, very attractive on some of these buildings. And so the increased height will allow more ceiling height, but also you're correct, it will allow more architectural elements that would make the building a little more aesthetically pleasing.
Thank you.
Any questions for Wayne or Buford? Okay.
I want to mention just how professional these presentations are. I mean, just the level of presentation, it's really great. I appreciate it. I know I'm hearing a lot from others about it.
I will entertain a motion for the site plan approval.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Jack, I'm going to recuse myself. I met with the owner and architect months ago in the preliminary phase. I don't know if they've selected a builder yet, but just out of precaution, I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, all right. And one recusal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the site plan approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay. Site plan is approved. Thank you, council. Item 18 are appointments to the medical board clinic, medical clinic board even.
That's right, you're right.
Midtown Medical Clinic Board. Oh, this is just a kind of a move so that we can have them meet, have a quorum, and give the money that they have on hand back to the city that's been just sitting in an account for years and years. So the nominees for a 6-year term are Bob Manick, Bob Gentle, and Ben Smith. And I believe that's Ben Smith, the third. The third, yep. Okay. I will entertain a motion for those appointments.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, appointments are made. Item 19, appointments to the Tree Committee for a 3-year term. The nominee is Greg Wittendorfer for a term ending August 2021. Entertain a motion for that appointment to be made.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item 20 is an application for a restaurant liquor license by Zhen Chu Wu, or, hope I got that right. I call him Master Joe.
Joe, there you go.
That's how I know. Well, I'm going to say that. So Master Joe, for Walk by the Bay Incorporated, doing business as Walk by the Bay, located at 420 Fairhope Avenue, Fairhope, Alabama. Officer Hollinghead, do you know of any reason why we should deny this application? Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion to approve this restaurant liquor license.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Say the building looks great.
Okay.
Opens in a month.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, all those in favor of approving the application, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 21 is a resolution that in the event of the grant award of the Hatch Grant, an economic development grant, the city of Fairhope, Alabama authorizes the council president to sign all assurances and contracts and to comply with all applicable federal and state laws, rules, and regulations. The city of Fairhope, as a co-applicant, agrees to fund the required 20% match, and it says 1.2 million. It should be 1.22 million. It was just a typo there, council. It's correct in the actual resolution in your binder. Would you like Mr. Lawson, who's sitting in the back, to give us a description of this?
I think it might be nice for the general public.
Sure.
Mayor Wilson, council, good to be with you this evening. What this grant is through the Federal Economic Development Administration, the EDA. In the U.S. Congressional Budget Act that was passed last year, we all kind of know more of the Budget Act as what it does, but in there was $587 million of a disaster declaration that was tied to Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria that all occurred last year. The entire Gulf Coast from Houston, Texas, Galveston, from all the way to the coast of Florida was included in that disaster declaration area. Of the $587 million, portions are to be spent in each state for economic resiliency, economic development, that projects that tie themselves to the resiliency of the community's economies, and mainly for areas that were impacted by the storm. We've seen this with previous hurricanes, like hurricanes we've experienced. Hurricane Katrina, there were GO-Zone bonds spent in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So the disaster declarations, when they are incurred, they're designated by the governor usually, and by the President of the United States. We were included in those disaster declarations, so therefore we're eligible for these dollars. We reached out to the EDA when this declaration was declared at the first of the year to understand what type of projects could be applied for, and when we talked about economic resiliency, we had already met with the federal EDA about Hatch, our Technology Entrepreneurial Development Center, which is currently going in some given space to us in the BBVA Compass building, 2 offices that BBVA Compass has provided for a temporary home. And we approached council about the opportunity to do this once we understood here recently that the EDA has dollars for a project like this. And so we've made the application, or we're making the application as a co-applicant, because Hatch is the only opportunity we have to leverage these funds. And so that's what the EDA disaster declaration was for. That's why the funds are eligible, and that's why Hatch is eligible, because it's a job creator. The funds are eligible for the acquisition and renovation of property for a job creating project. And so we've met all those qualifications that the EDA has set forth in the grant application. There are some limitations to what can and can't be done with the money. And we've met with the EDA and feel comfortable that what's being proposed to purchase the said property that you mentioned earlier is eligible for the funds.
Any questions for Mr. Lawson? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to approve these funds in the event of the grant award.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Are y'all ready to move on? Hearing none, all is in favor? I can't talk tonight. Please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Item 22 is a resolution to appoint the interim chief of police. I think many of you here may be here for this. After we held our interviews on Friday, and I want to thank all of the applicants, the 4 that applied, and we interviewed them all. We held an executive session. We talked about the candidates some, and I instructed all of the council members to give their choice of candidates to the city clerk, and the city clerk tallied the votes of the council members, which are not binding until there's a vote taken tonight, but gave me the results of that straw poll. And as a result of that, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved by the governing body of the city of Fairhope, Alabama, that Lieutenant Stephanie Hollinghead is hereby appointed as interim chief of police. The term of the interim police chief will serve until the successor or she is elected by the council and qualified to be appointed chief of police within 6 months, as section 11-43-5, Code of Alabama, 1975. I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Congratulations, Lieutenant, our chief now. Okay. Next item on tonight's agenda is public participation. If you have anything else, wow, I'm having a tough time. If you have anything else to bring forth before the council, please come forward and State your name and address.
My name is Jerry Henry, and I live in Destrehan, and I appreciate the work of this council, appreciate our mayor. I would like to recommend that this council honor Sam Irby and recognize him. He has been elected the president of the Alabama Bar Association, which is quite an honor. Most those that are elected are those from like law firms with 6 or 7 names on them, from Birmingham or Montgomery or whatever. But we're getting a local lawyer who is a fine man, a fine attorney, to be elected, and I think that deserves recognition from this body and from our community. So I recommend that. Sam wants to clean up a lot of the ambulance chasing tactics of some of the attorneys that are on television, and that's his agenda. Whether he does that or not, I don't know, but I think it's a great agenda. But my son's a Marine lawyer, and I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of those who serve well as attorneys. And so I think Sam fits in that category. And I like to see, he was a local boy. He played quarterback for Fairhope High School. I don't know how many games they won when he played quarterback, but he and Irby and Hurd's a good firm, and I think such an honor that they have given him, the lawyers of our state. I think that deserves recognition from our community and from the city council.
Council, would y'all agree to me asking the mayor to put together a proclamation recognizing his achievements in the field of law and also being named president of the Alabama Bar Association?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to point out that the only time I make it on TV is in response to something that happened with the city council, so just for the record.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Casey Fulford. I'm with the Baldwin County Soil and Water Conservation District. Some of our Board of Supervisors have contacted y'all individually or talked to you here at this meeting to help fund the position of the Watershed Management Coordinator that was identified as a priority in the Weeks Bay Watershed Management Plan. The Baldwin County Commissioners have funded this position for a year, but we're going around to each of the municipalities in Weeks Bay Watershed to ask for your consideration and possibly fund this position for the long haul of 3 years. I do have some papers if you would like to look about what a Watershed Management Coordinator can do and other communities that have supported us already.
Please pass those out.
Please, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council?
My name's Charlie Wiggins. I'm with Boy Scouts Troop 47. Would like to take this opportunity to thank this city council for your support and generosity in helping our troop and the BSA program. Number 2, BSA program still stands for the same thing it always has. I don't care what you hear on TV. It's a good program. And number 3, we're having our 90th anniversary, September 29th. Everyone is invited. Thank you.
Thank you.
These boys here are doing a merit badge on citizenship in the community, and one of the requirements is to attend a city council meeting.
All right.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Fernandez, and I live on Volanta Street. And I'm here with some concerns in reference to street safety, parking, and the issues of downtown. I had an incident this past week where I nearly got hit right in front of the police department coming out of Pine Street onto North Section Street where that new restaurant area is. There was a truck parked, at that end parking spot, and you couldn't see to come out, and I was inching my way out and nearly got slammed twice by cars speeding down. So I left, and as I went down to my house, I got concerned that I wanted to make a report to the police department. So I turned around, I came back and talked to the police department and reiterated my concern about this, the parking incidences in the corners where you have blind spots and you can't see. And I was told that the police department couldn't do anything about it, that it was up to the mayor and the city council to address the issues of parking and problems in the city. I understand that the city has 3 committees, and doing my research on that, there's a parking authority, which only deals with the parking lot. There's the Street and Public Safety Committee, which I don't think has met or had a quorum in over a year. And then, of course, you have the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. I've attended the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee meeting, but I'm just concerned as to what is the city doing in reference to assessing the parking and traffic problems in this area. I have some other concerns that I'll pass out. Okay. The other thing, I've taken pictures. I've been very vigilant in watching the back street parking, and I've got pictures. Never has there been a full house of people backing into that parking area near PNC Bank. And I'm curious as to know, what's the status on that? When are we evaluating that? I also, in going online, found this 44-page document that was creating a vision and master plan for parking and active transportation. It has no date. I mean, I don't know anything about it other than it's a 44-page recommendation or study on the parking. And I'm just curious as to know what's going on with it. I also downloaded a form that said I could sign or apply to volunteer to work on one of the parking committees. But the committee that I wanted to work on, of course, was the safety committee, which I was told does not have public residents on that committee. And I'm curious if that committee is made up of people who are appointed by this board, by the council, why is there not any accountability for those people not meeting on a regular basis and addressing some issues? I've typed up some of my other concerns that I'd like to leave with you all, but I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but I'm just wanting to make sure that there's some of this is being addressed by somebody, if not the police department, by somebody on the council, or how does a person, a resident, go about getting these issues addressed?
Okay. Why don't you bring what you have up here to us, and do any of you, I'm not on any of those committees, Councilman Brown, you were on at least.
I'm on the bike ped, yes.
Okay. I know that you actually asked that question of all the candidates the other day.
Right.
Witnessing some similar situation yourself just last week.
Well, it would have been very embarrassing had I been wiped out right in front of the police department, I can assure you.
Richard Johnson and Sherry Lee can speak to the traffic and parking study that we just had and what we're doing right now to start implementing those things. And I agree that the intersections were really, even coming out of the Civic Center right now, if there's a SUV parked on either side, you have to inch out, and it is very scary. Anyway, and parklets and things like that.
And not into any particular order, I do want to share something that you learn something every day, and Paul Merchant, our horticulturist, did a little flower presentation, and one of the things he kind of taught me today, he said sometimes you're introduced to a new flower, but you don't want to overcommit, because if it doesn't work out well, you haven't hurt yourself that well. On the reverse angle parking, that was one of a recommended solution to a safety issue, and we picked a very small test bed area, and we're testing it, and you're absolutely right. It is not 100% in compliance, and we've kind of been very patient, and just like if we order 500 flowers that don't work out, no one gets hurt, and so far we haven't introduced any public safety issues with the reverse angle parking or the back end parking, and we're hoping by organically people will start learning it and figuring out and using it. Ultimately, we'll get to a point, and we're polling it as well. And we have had one day, I think, one time, every car was properly backed into the spaces. But that is an attempt to address one of those safety concerns of people being wrecked because of somebody backing out of a parking place with through traffic on it, and at least the reverse angle parking ends that in the departure mode. On the others, and that's something that we will be bringing forth to you, is we have gone through, over many years, multiple studies of what can we do to improve safety, usability, and also preserve the much coveted parking spaces in our central business district. You know, our biggest challenge is that we have been, you as a council, have been very successful. We have a vibrant downtown. I mean, people come to downtown to shop, to live, to eat, and with that use of our vibrant downtown, we have a challenge. There's traffic, there's a lot of walkability. We have a wonderful bicycling community that wants to use all those same roads, so we have pedestrians, we have cars. Also, with the vibrant downtown, we have to have vendors bring in supplies. Food trucks have to deliver food. Vendors have to receive goods and services so that they can sell those goods and services in their shops. So it's a tough challenge. We're going to be bringing to you kind of a composite listing of recommendations to improve. Not 100% correct. Some of them are going to be tough to digest. The issue with Pine Street, we've already discussed, eliminating the 2 parking places closest to that intersection, because you're right, if a van or a large SUV is parked in that one spot, when you pull up, you don't have sight distance, very good sight distance to see oncoming traffic. If it's a convertible or a small car, it's not a problem, but as we know, you never know what's going to choose to park there size-wise. But eliminating 2 parking places bring its own challenges because there's such a high demand for parking in our community. So we will be bringing forth, and Sherry Lee and I talked about it at a work session within at least next 2 meeting cycles, to kind of show you what we think the priorities are and how far in that chart that we want to go, because a lot of it's going to involve a lot of disruption downtown for constructing, rearranging and geometrics of intersections, having bump outs for the pedestrian way so that the drivers can see the pedestrians trying to attempt to use the crosswalk. Talked about the safety strip in the middle of Section Street. Lot of options there. Speed calming is another. How do we incorporate that into an active and busy, high-use business district? So we have spent a great deal of time this past year gathering data, gathering recommendations, and we've attempted a few things to see what works and what doesn't work. But I think that there is an active attempt, and I think there's no doubt in my mind this council is very cognizant of the challenges downtown, and I know the mayor is as well. And I know that it's gotten to the point where we've studied it, we've delineated what we think from the experts and the studies have derived will be good measures to take, and we're going to bring that to you as a package to look at how we want to implement that and how we want to move forward. Because here's the reality. We have been very successful at what we're doing here in the city, and every day it seems like a new business. One's opening in 30 days, I heard. So that's the challenge we face. And I think it's a great problem to have, and I know that speed is an issue and volume is an issue as well. But we are aware, and we are working to address those, and we'll be bringing forth to you our recommendations post-haste.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
When was this
No,
study done?
Listen, we're not going to keep revisiting this tonight. Yes, you've had your turn, ma'am. I also want to tell you that the Street and Traffic Committee, ma'am, the Street and Traffic Committee meeting meets as needed, and so if you have an item to put on that agenda that we can address, if you will contact the city clerk's office, she'll be glad to put you on that agenda. Like I said, we meet as we get agenda items. So it's not a set, monthly or bi-monthly. Okay, if you'll please do that, we'll be happy to listen to you. And there are policemen, public works officials, planners, myself, a number of city officials on that. And we're glad to hear you out, okay?
Jack, if you don't mind, when interviewing the interim police chief, that was one of my questions, is what are we going to do about the speed downtown? I'm on the bike ped committee meeting, and we're talking about how to get people safely across the street and how to, promote bicycling downtown. the more I think about it, and I told y'all that, last week, just before we interviewed the interim police chief, some lady in her young 30s drove by the top of Fells, probably at 50 or 60 miles an hour, across Morphe. She couldn't have stopped in 30 feet if she'd have hit the brakes. I encourage Fairhope police officers to write as many tickets as they can around the central business district. I don't care if it takes speed bumps, but I share Ms. Fernandez, I'm sorry what your last name is, and her frustration. Somebody's going to get killed whether they're on foot, bike, or in a car unless we slow down people coming into Fairhope Central Business District.
Well, that also goes for not only the police writing tickets, but prosecutors prosecuting people and judges enforcing
All the way
law
up.
as well. And the council appoints all of them, so that's put on notice. Anything else? Anyone else want to address the council? Okay. I need a young man up here to help me make this next motion. Can I get one of you? Any of you? Come on. Come on, young man. Okay. Come on, Tucker. Come around here. Sure, come on. Come up here, Tucker. Sit in this seat right here. You're going to make a motion here, okay? So this is how you do it. You say, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Just say it right into that microphone right there. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? No, you don't have to say that. Just say, all those in favor, say aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Opposed say nay.
Okay, say, we are adjourned.
We are adjourned.
That's right.
Fine job.